Testing. Hopefully, folks can hear me now. Should be able to hear. Let me know if you can't hear me. Great.
Yeah, that's true.
Think you can do this, Carl? You got it? You point that glassy thing, point the glassy thing at the people that are talking, and maybe you can help them out with the rest. Can you help them out with the rest? That's what he's doing. I don't know what that is. He doesn't know what that is either. See this guy very often. It's some prison release thing. He's out of jail now, and he's got to have something to do. Yes. He's only 35. He's just lived a hard life. Got a lot of mileage out of it. 35.
Oh, yeah, anytime you get a car to the store, I'm not 21. I'm not. Just give me the
Thanks, Carl.
I heard you saying you were considering going back to KGW. Yeah, good. Probably not a good time. Right over there. He was joking the other day that he's going to go KGW now the next star. Bring them.
What? you?
Good, Janet Kineski with the Greater Vancouver Chamber.
Nice to see you, Jen. How are you? I can see you've got lots going on.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Of course.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really looking forward to hearing from all of you today about how tariffs are impacting your businesses and your community and what we need to be doing in Congress because, like all of you, I understand trade. I know we sell things and I know we buy things, and it all impacts our costs. But this trade war that we've gotten into with the tariffs are really impacting businesses and families. These tariffs are a tax on our families and on our businesses. So I'm here today to hear from each one of you about what is happening with your business and your community, so I can take that back to Washington, D.C. The fact is that Trump has put in place these tariffs. They're now going into effect. We've been talking about them for quite a while here, but now the reality is really sinking as they are going into effect. And Congress can do something about this. We can actually take back our control of these tariffs. But right now, Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House, and they have not joined with us to do that. So we need to take our stories back to them so they understand what the impact is. I know the governor did a study a few weeks ago and told us that if these tariffs continue to go on, it'll cost Washington State about 25,000 jobs. I'm sure each one of you can talk about what that means to you personally, and that it will cost our state $2.2 billion. That is incredible over 4 years. We simply cannot let this continue. But the only way for us to be able to fight back and make a change is to hear from all of you about what the real impacts are, so people can really begin to understand this and speak out. So that's why I'm here today, and I really appreciate all of you coming and sharing your perspective of this. And Sunny, thank you for opening up your shop and starting us out here on this conversation. So,
all right, thank you so much. Good morning, Senator. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining us today. I just wanted to start off with a little bit more about why we opened this place and what we're all about here at Short and Sweet. So me and my wife, we established Short and Sweet in the end of 2002. We are a locally grown and operating bubble tea and sandwich business. The real reason why we actually opened up this shop in the first place is because we actually wanted to drive a sense of community. We have two little ones, and one of the things, I grew up in the restaurant industry, so one of the things that was really amazing about all of that was I was very to myself, and I was very shy growing up. So with that, it allowed me to engage with more people. I got to build relationships with our customer bases, by me doing this, I'm hoping to do the same thing for my daughters. However, that dream seems to kind of be diminishing, just because with a lot of these rising costs, it's been kind of a challenge to kind of keep things afloat, and I'll kind of get into some of those right now. So our bubble tea supplies, which mainly get imported from Japan, Taiwan, and China, I'm seeing across the board an increase of about 25 to 28% on just those cost of goods there. Our non-food item cost of goods, such as cups, packaging, and straws, we're seeing anywhere from a 26 to 32% increase ever since tariffs have been implemented. My food costs in general, both locally and imported, I'm now seeing anywhere from 200 to 250% increase since I started in 2023, which I think that part of it is, I don't know how I can keep those items afloat, to be honest. And on top of that, we have minimum wage increases and natural inflation and things like that. At the end of the day, it's crazy because I'm actually doing fairly well when it comes to revenue sales. We're looking at a 20 to 25% increase year over year, but somehow due to cost of goods, I'm still losing. Right? We're still bleeding out. I'm trying to keep things going. I'm still trying to drive community, trying to really drive that mission of bringing in a really wholesome family atmosphere. But right now, I just don't know what type of relief options we're going to have, if there's going to be any, what the future of this is going to look like. yeah, that's just kind of where our
So
current
Sunny,
state is.
you've seen what your costs go up. Have you passed those on to your customers yet?
So yes, I have raised prices a little bit. I did so in 2024. Looking to have to do that again in 2025, but I don't want to do that necessarily because that's not what we're about. I'm not a business that's trying to drive high profits. I'm just trying to make sure that we have a really nice community space, that I'm able to serve everybody around me, feed people, offer affordable prices, and then, you know, like for here, we really want this to be like people's third home. So we're feeding families, we're not just feeding working individuals. So it's really hard for like the single moms or the parents out there that have multiple kids. If I continue to raise my prices, how can they afford to feed their families,
Yeah.
let alone mine, right?
Well, tea I get because we import it, so there's a tariff on it.
Yeah.
We do not grow it here.
Right.
We just don't.
Yes.
So you have to import that. I have heard from other people about the cost of paper goods and spoons and things going up because we import that. There is no American manufacturer.
Right.
So you have to import that. And food prices, you mentioned.
Mhm.
And I am hearing from our farmers that because fertilizer costs
Yes.
are going up and all of their production costs are going up, they are passing it along, and you're now beginning to see that.
Yes. It's one of the things because we also choose not to do like shortcutted fruit items. So we actually try to do everything like handmade, always fresh. So that makes it more difficult because it's harder for farmers to produce that and keep that active as well.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks
of
for
course.
sharing.
Yeah. Janet Kineski, Greater Vancouver Chamber. So we represent multiple sectors, including the hospitality sector, and we're seeing the pinch in every single industry. And when you talk about the supply chain that you're referring to, for me, I spent 20 years prior to working for the Chamber, the last 7 years in international trade. So I see the impacts. I see what we've been trying to do over the last decade, what you've been trying to do over the last decade. And in our hospitality sector alone, when we talk about Sunny, we're seeing across the board, restaurants, our hospitality chains, it's adding a lot of insult to injury right now with what they're seeing at the state level and certain taxes that are hitting the hospitality sector. But when we look at the hospitality sector having margins of 1.5%, right, a lot of what they're purchasing now may not have even seen their tariffs hit yet. So I think that's what worries us at the Greater Vancouver Chamber most is a lot of our manufacturers, a lot of our retailers, a lot of the supply chain, they're working on inventory right now that is not taxed yet, not tariffed. So when they get to that, that's adding insult to injury, right? So we're seeing the collective impact across the industries where a restaurant owner is now needing to spend 60 hours. They're working more hours. They might not be hiring as much staff. And that has a big burden on the consumer spending. It has a big burden on the entire supply chain, and we're really feeling that right now in Clark County. So conversations like this we have with every single industry sector across the board. It's not unique, and there will come a time where we're going to see a lot more of our mom and pops that are out here doing really good things closing their doors, and we hate to see that.
I hear from a lot of people that the tariffs that tax has
Right.
not yet hit yet
Right.
because supplies, a lot of people bought extra supplies, they have the inventory in. When do we start seeing that and which companies will see it first?
So I think we're going to start seeing that in the first quarter of 2026. A lot of our organizations that are buying on futures or they're purchasing, it could be anything from their steel, it could be products from overseas that are hitting a year out. And I know some of our other companies will be talking about that. We're really worried about in some of the steel sector, we're going to start seeing that in the first quarter where those purchases are going to be the first ones that they purchase with tariffs. So already in the state of Washington is already a really strenuous time for a lot of our manufacturers and a lot of our retailers, seeing increased B&O, seeing reclassified organizations, and we don't see it getting better in Q1, Q2, unless there's some relief at the federal level with these tariffs. And really, when we're looking at uncertainty, that is the biggest thing that's hurting a lot of our organizations, is just the level of uncertainty that our companies have. So our economy here, especially in Southwest Washington, we do well when we know we can plan or there's some certainty in things. Right now, it's just up in the air, and I think that's what the biggest.
It's for the businesses, but also for the consumers.
Absolutely, for the consumer spending
spending.
is really going to be impacted. impacted.
Yeah.
And when you look at, again, the 1.5 margins that hospitality is seeing, that equals a business owner, 1.5% spending 60 hours a week, that's $16,500 a year that hospitality owner is making and bringing back to their family.
Right.
So I think the more people understand that, I think we need to hear more voices about that.
Right, okay, great, thank you very much. All right,
Hi, thanks for having us today.
yeah, nice to see you.
I'm Alan O'Hara from When the Shoe Fits. 21 years ago now, my wife and I opened up premium comfort footwear and orthotics stores. So two of our stores are Medicare accredited facilities. So we do durable medical equipment for diabetic patients and take care of their foot problems, as well as just dealing with everyday premium comfort footwear and solutions. You want to look good, but your feet may be hurt, we can take care of that. And we've been doing it for 20 years now. We've got a pretty good history as to how things go. The shoe business has changed. Footwear has changed drastically within the last, about the 90s. We lost a lot of production of footwear in the United States, and it went across to Europe and Asia. China and Vietnam are huge players, especially in the athletic market. So when, about February or so, when all the threats of tariffs and things coming through, plus funding getting taken away from federal workers programs and all of these things, I had to sit down with my buyer and think, is this reasonable to figure we're going to be able to do what we did last year based on all this fear and uncertainty going on? Prices are going to increase, and Vietnam was a big resource for us. There were threats of 43% reciprocal tariffs, which was going to put a $150 retail shoe for us up to $225, which really changes things up. Our manufacturers were having a lot of their sales meetings. We work 6 months plus in advance in order to place orders. So we were waiting to hear what in the heck's going to happen, and nobody was taking a stance. Our manufacturers anyway. And then I guess it was in April, nearly every major footwear retailer collectively signed a letter to the president explaining the detrimental effects of these tariffs, and in our industry it could affect 30,000 people across the board, and begging for some relief because we're already affected by some of the tariffs, especially in footwear. Lo and behold, the vendors had to protect themselves, and they started increasing prices as early as June 1st. So we're now feeling the effects of those increases. And we've had some attrition just naturally from the retail sector, and it makes it really difficult for us to be able to plan anything going forward. I'd love to be able to bring my staff back up to what I consider a full staff, which between
Have you laid
stores,
off people?
Pardon me?
Have you laid off
I
people?
have not, but we had a retirement party for one of my 21-year employees yesterday, and I'm not getting back on to replace her right away because I don't know what's happening. And it's the uncertainty. Janet mentioned it. With us, we still don't know how things are going to shake out. And Brazil makes a lot of footwear, and Brazil's going to get hit with 50% tariffs, or are they not? It kind of seems we don't know what's happening. It all depends on the whims of who's in favor right now, and it makes it really difficult as a business owner to plan your inventories, to plan your sales, to plan. And we provide health care and retirement for our employees, and it's important for us to be able to. We're really proud that we can have a living wage as a shoe retailer for our people, and that's going to be tricky navigating as we move forward. So.
Have you had to raise your prices yet?
Yes. Now, we work with, a lot of our brands are very popular around the world, and they have minimum advertised pricing. So we have to kind of stay within their realm of what they want us to, because they want to present the brand in a certain manner.
Yeah.
And so they're all working with them. One of our brands, Brooks, is a Berkshire Hathaway program, and they were instrumental in the beginning of the tariff implementations in setting the tone a little bit and saying that we're going to let some of our existing inventories, things we've already made, those are going to remain the same. We're going to honor the initial prices on some of the merchandise that we purchased for fall, but as that comes into season, your reorders on that product is gonna be up 15%. So
Yeah.
we've seen pretty much 15% increases across the board in our sector.
Wow. And are any of your products manufactured here? Because the president keeps saying, if we put these tariffs on, then we'll start manufacturing at home. I already said tea, we're not gonna manufacture here, but any of
Socks,
yours?
some of we Tennessee has a lot of good sock warehousing and manufacturing capabilities, but it's not
Not
too
cheap.
manufacturing isn't coming back to the U.S. There's too many, there's too much infrastructure involved, and we've mothballed all of our factories.
Right.
U.S. Shoe Corporation was huge out of Cincinnati, and you know there were a lot of players. Old Main Trotters, the Northeast, used to make a lot of footwear, and like I said, in the '90s, that started moving overseas because we couldn't compete with labor, and consequently, there's no more shoe manufacturing. Very little. New Balance does a couple of runs of shoes up in Boston, but by and large,
No.
the U.S. can't make shoes anymore. So.
Okay. Well, thank you
yeah,
for your
thank you.
perspective. All right.
Good morning, Senator Murray. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today. My name is Marty Lopes. My wife and I are the owners of Terrain Coffee Project. We have a retail cafe business here in downtown Vancouver. And then I also have a wholesale roasting project. So I kind of see a couple different sides of our industry. I can speak to both of them at length, so I'll try to keep it brief.
Yeah, go
But coffee is something that obviously is produced basically 100% outside of the U.S. It's pretty much completely imported into our country. We have been in business for about 7 years, and I've been in coffee for approaching 20 years now, which feels amazing to say, but I've been very fortunate to develop some relationships over time where we're able to source our coffee directly from certain origins and producers. But largely we buy on what's called the spot market. And the spot market is something where, because coffee is imported, it comes into the U.S. Based on someone else's inclination, a broker, and they store it in the U.S. and then it becomes available for us to buy. So our mix is about 70% spot market buying, and then about 30, and it fluctuates year to year, 30 to 35% we're buying directly from producers. Now with the tariffs in particular, the tariffs vary on origin. So depending on the country of origin, it's subject to a differentiating tariff cost, but we're seeing costs from 15 to 30% based on origin on average. And then of course Brazil is one of the world's largest Arabica coffee suppliers, is facing 50%. Now what that's done to our market on the wholesale side is Brazil being such a large supplier, and they are also facing other problems about climate change, droughts. This all affects this total supply, which puts pressure on other origins to fill the gaps. And of course, Brazil imports are down significantly since the tariffs took place, and now other origins are being spotted for their supply. So what that's done for us is made it really challenging to stay fluid in the market, to be able to keep buying our coffee, because it's become so competitive in that market, mostly because coffee, I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon, which is good. It's pretty reliable in that the market will bear increases, but there will be a threshold at a point where the increases and the cost simply are too high, and people will make changes to their routine and their buying habits, let's say. So for us, we've seen a much more competitive, volatile market on the green coffee side in wholesale. Like I said, different origins have the different tariff costs, so we're just paying it as we go and doing the best buying purchases that we can that make sense for our business, while still trying to uphold things like quality, transparency, sustainability. These are key factors for us in how we do our buying. So there's that on the wholesale side. And then our retail side, we've had to increase our costs by about 30% just for our retail coffee. And that was mostly because when we opened 4 years ago, I kept the prices stable until that point. But there's been such a pinch in the market that we had to increase that much just to keep up with normal inflation and higher costs to serve. But at this point, the tariffs are significantly impacting our retail costs, and therefore we have to pass that on to the consumer. We basically can't survive otherwise. We're just kind of giving our product away at that point. So it's been quite a mess, and we're really hopeful about being very vocal about not only what coffee means to us as far as a global economy, but also in terms of productivity. I truly believe, being a parent and a small business owner, I can attest to this. I simply function better with caffeine in my system at such a rate that I can't ignore it, and I kind of have to shout it from the rooftops. But I'm very much hopeful for a correction to this, and really looking to our policymakers to help assist in this, because it's something where we can only go so far with raising our prices, and then I think we will see an absolute drop.
So have you raised them 30% to your customers?
Yes, for our retail coffee.
For your
yes.
retail coffee.
We've neglected to do our, let's say, drinks served over the counter. Just because, again, like Sunny, we're trying to keep it affordable. We still want someone to come in and be able to experience that. That's part of community building. It's part of a shared experience. It's part of building a core district in downtown Vancouver.
How long
that
can
really,
you sustain that, though?
Well, it's a big question mark.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I mean, personally, we're faced with some other challenges as far as like moving our business, but again, I can't predict that. I have a really good feeling that coffee in particular, because of its nature, will remain in people's daily habits for a while.
But still 30%
but again,
increase.
We'll see a sharp drop.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, thank you for having us, like everybody said. I feel like, my position here being last, there's a piece of what he said, and he said, everybody, so I don't want to be repetitive. My name is Ann Matthews, and my husband and I own 2 women's clothing stores and 2 men's clothing stores in the area on kind of both ends of Clark County, so Camas and Ridgefield. They're higher end, so our clientele has, I don't want to say they don't really watch prices, but they definitely do. I think because of the market we're in, we are definitely seeing and hearing a lot of confusion for our customers, because they're very educated, they're very aware, they're very, outspoken. I feel like our customer base, are very with it, if you will. And so they bring a lot to us. Like I said, I don't want to kind of repeat what everybody else said. But what I'm hearing from the consumers, if I may, is how uncertain everything feels. Like, should I buy this leather jacket? I'm going to buy this leather jacket. Should I buy this leather jacket? Yes, I am going to buy this leather jacket, because the next time I come in here, it's going to cost, $50 more. Well, I don't want to bait and switch them and say, yep, it's going to cost you $50 more the next time you come in. Because maybe it will and maybe it won't. I don't know the exact amount, but I do know something is going to be changing for my customers, and they're concerned about it. And I'm concerned about it. And I think that the tariffs are definitely affecting us. We've seen, like Alan was saying, we started to see our prices change a little bit right around the June time.
Okay.
They're going to change quite a bit in January. So fashion retail and shoe retail, we go January to June, July to December, and those are kind of your buying season. You buy 6 to 8 months in advance. So I've been getting emails from my brands, my factories, if you will, saying, okay, this was your buy, this is what's changing, what do you want to keep, what do you want to ditch? And I just kind of know exactly where my breaking point is with my customer base. Like, I know how far they'll stretch for the things that they want. They want the high quality. We do have things made in the USA, but we have a lot of things made outside that are being definitely up against the tariffs, our leather goods, things like that. But I think that, so I've had to drop off some things, and so my buys are looking very different from what they used to be. I used to have a very, very good handle on what I was gonna be bringing in, because I had a very dependable customer, very loyal customer base. Like I said, I feel like they're very confused, they're very concerned, and they're just assuming the worst, because I don't know what else they can assume right now. And they're looking to us to kind of like reaffirm, like, it's gonna be okay, we're gonna take care of you, we're gonna watch that, we're gonna make sure that we don't jack our leather jackets up into the $500 range. Our shoes, we also carry shoes, some of the same brands that Alan does. And footwear, he explained very well, so I don't need to go into that, but we are facing exactly what he's facing on that front. But I have to say, somebody, I don't remember, I think maybe you or maybe it was Alan, speaking to the, minimum wage and all the B&O taxes, all the other taxes. So there's, it's almost adding insult to injury, right? It's like, okay, we already have all this that we're up against. And I too have had people leave and retire that I haven't replaced because I simply can't afford to. And that makes our whole business look different. There's a lot of pressure on small businesses, and I've had mine for 12 years, a definite family-owned mom and pop, and I believe that that's what America is. And I believe that our community loves to support the small businesses, but it's getting to the point where our overhead and what it costs in our leases because of the rents and all of this stuff, like it is just like we could sit here for hours and talk about how small business is just not being supported in I don't know if I wanted to say Washington, because I don't know much about the rest of the United States, but it doesn't feel good. It's very concerning. It's concerning to our communities. It's concerning to our teams. It's concerning to everybody that I know, quite honestly. So, like I said, they did such a good job that I just sort of wanted to just put that little spin on things. Like, it's just, it's tough.
Well, small businesses are our communities. I grew up, my dad ran the dime store in Bothell, Main Street. And that was all there was Main Street, and that was our community. They did everything, just like they do here.
Well,
And
we're the ones who are helping with their proms and their senior nights and their soccer teams, and we get all our preschool's having can you give us a gift card? They don't go to the big chain or the Amazons or all these people. They aren't giving hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars to our communities just in gifts in kind.
Yeah.
Every auction, and I love that. Like, I'm honored to be able to be supporting our community.
It's your community.
But that's who's supporting is
they
the
lose
small
too.
businesses.
When the small businesses go out, the entire community, not just the jobs, you both talked about not rehiring some people, but also the entire community and what we all count on just for that security.
Yeah, I employ a lot of people. You employ a lot of people. It's very
huge impact.
concerning. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask one question? You said that the tariffs will see effect in January. You said that as well. Why is it January and not now?
Because, our buying season, we actually already had placed our orders.
For the people are buying now.
And the factories and the brands have already brought them in state. So they're already statewide, from wherever their distribution centers are. So they were, and Alan spoke to this, they're already landed goods. So they weren't tariffed or taxed.
Okay, so what you have in your store right now wasn't impacted by what you will have in January, will have that extra
and some of what we're having in fall. So we were given the opportunity, or I was, and I'm sure you were, to see ahead of time, like, okay, this is what you had ordered for fall. These are the things that we are that we did actually have to pay the tariffs on. So we're assuming these tariffs are coming, and they're coming still, like they're actually on the ocean or whatever, they're on their way to us. And so this is what we're gonna take some of it, you absorb some of it, you're gonna absorb some of it, and your consumers are gonna absorb some of it. And so some of the items I said, well, go ahead and bring it on, and some of it I had to decline. I mean, it was just coming from somewhere where the tariffs were too high or where they were assumed to be too high.
Right.
But in January, it should, then they will be factual tariffs, and so they will be measurable, and they'll be able to, we will see the increases there.
it's a difficult situation though, because with our vendors for fall, we're coming into new season now. And we bought these shoes, say March, and tariffs weren't
There.
in there. So
Right.
once all the news came out, our vendors came back and said, we're gonna honor that initial price. If you'd like to add some more to it, we can still honor that, but as soon as you get receipt of that product, we're gonna take the price increase. The minimum advertised price is gonna be reflective of the higher tariff price. Well then, as a buyer, you're trying to plan your business. Now my merchandise is gonna be 15% higher. Plus, what's gonna happen now with all the other attacks on, well, everything small business? It's not that we're not being supported, it's just, it's like we're being attacked
Yeah.
and from all angles, making
Absolutely.
life tougher. From health insurance, I mean, we've watched our health
Oh,
insurance go
us too.
crazy. And one of the things for
And
us.
it's
is
gonna
have
go
good
up even
people,
more.
And it's gonna go up even more.
Yeah.
And we're looking at those rates going up now.
Yep.
And being one that wants to support their employees, we pay 100% for our health insurance package. And I don't know if that's gonna be sustainable going forward, because we can't plan on what our actual sales are going
You
to be.
said some of your products you covered Medicaid covers some of yours?
Yes.
So when the Medicaid impacts go in, that will affect a number of your customers who won't be able to afford.
Well, our shoe prices are gonna go up, there's an allowance for durable medical equipment for footwear.
Correct.
And in some cases, yeah, those prices are gonna now exceed what the allowable amounts are. And we're seeing that across the board.
Yeah. You wanted to say?
No, I just kind of wanted to piggyback a little bit off of kind of what they're saying, just like about the uncertainty of everything. I mean, it makes it kind of hard for somebody that's also like in my shoes, where we didn't have a lot of funds to build the stream that we're having. And then right now, since tariffs are implemented, one of the things I ran into quite a bit was trying to bulk buy to beat the tariffs. But then I'm taking all of my profits, I'm purchasing something, right? And now we're going into slow seasons that I can't control. So then it's like you get stuck chasing this inventory growth, and it just keeps getting higher and higher and higher. And then it's like there's no profits that are left to be had, and then you get stuck with inventory, and then you don't know what to do with it, and then it just kind of becomes this everlasting cycle at this moment of
And
when
if
do I get paid
consumers are
out?
dropping their purchases, which we are hearing they are,
Right.
you'll have fewer people to buy the product that you're gonna have
That we're
Paying
constantly
more
spending
for.
more and more on, yeah.
to.
You look at a downtown corridor like Vancouver, we try and encourage the businesses that are on the second floor and above, and a lot of our high rises, get out on Main Street, go and visit your small mom and pops. One, when a lot of jobs went remote, there's the consumer pinch right there. So we're seeing a reduced amount of people that are going out. You see a cup of coffee, yeah, going from $5 to $7 in the matter of a couple of months. That's
Okay,
taking
twice,
people out of
yeah.
the coffee shops where we would normally see them go have their coffee meetings. Right now, they're looking at other ways to get to host their meetings, and we want them out and about in the community. So
Yeah.
how do we get them to not rely on a constant conversation of, I'm a small business, we need you to support us. That's what we've built here, and we want to make sure that we get back to, we're a small business, we make up 90% of the economy here in Washington State. Let's have a conversation about that. Let's talk about what is that going to do when we meet next month or in a couple of months, and we're talking about a $25 minimum wage. It's
Oh, it's
gonna be
the minimum
devastating.
wage, and like Alan said, I also provide health insurance. That is a huge problem for us right now. Minimum wage, another huge, because minimum wage is a perception, right? When you're paying somebody 16, whatever it is, because I pay above minimum wage to all my employees, but the employees that are making above minimum wage, which, even just 5 years ago was a great, they were happy with that. Now they're like, well, it's just a couple, like I'm on, like it's just barely above minimum wage. And it's like, yes, I understand that, but minimum wage is really high when you put, all the taxes on top of the payroll taxes that we have to pay. And it's like you're paying, your employees twice.
Growth
It's-
opportunities get diminished,
Totally.
because how do you pay for somebody to have a higher role when they're already getting paid so much? So I mean, it's
You have to
that.
be able to drive the volume.
Yeah, I
in order
mean,
to
I can't
support
even
it.
place a manager in my shop. I'm still doing 80 hours a week here because I can't afford to. There's no possible way for me to do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, huge impacts all around. Well, on the tariffs, the Supreme Court's gonna weigh in on the legality of that here in a month and a half, November 5th, by November 5th. So, we'll see, we'll see how that goes. But Congress really has to stop this economic time bomb that we're facing with
Yeah.
this, and we can weigh in, but we need to speak up, and your input to me is really helpful, because I can take that back and initiate conversations and let people know, we need to do something about this, because it's gonna impact all of our consumers, all of our small businesses, and everybody, and I know we've gotta make this change, so thank you all for sharing with me. And I'm happy to answer, or if you wanna ask anybody any questions.
Like being in the minority, Core Harlem from CBS in Portland.
Yeah.
Like being in the minority in the Senate, it just seems like we watch this and the opposition kind of gets log rolled on a lot of this stuff. What is there feasibly that you all could do to help business owners such as?
Well, for one thing, again, what I hear here, I can take back. I can talk to my Republican colleagues. Actually, some of them they're obviously seeing the impacts in their own communities. They need to know that they have the votes. They need to stand with us to change this. That's how you get things changed.
Sarah, since I know you had to run too. I actually don't.
One question I have, and this could be for you, Senator, or
Sure.
any of the other folks here at the table, you know, and I've heard conversation about this, about just the instability of whiplash, I guess, as it were, delays, or it's gonna happen, it's not gonna happen. You know, what role does?
Or we've got deals that we don't really have deals for. All of, I
Right.
think you heard that conversation around the uncertainty.
Yeah,
that
what's
is
what
impacting
does
everybody.
stability, like what importance and role does stability have for setting prices and just being able to, just like you just said, just being able to hire or anything like that?
Well, the unknown, I mean, if I may, but the unknown is what I think scares people more. You know, when you know the answer and you have the facts, it's a lot easier to dissect that than it is all the assumption. And so the assumption feels very unstable, it's very confusing, and so people just go like, I'm out until I know, or like, I'm gonna hold on to all my money, I'm not gonna make any decisions on anything, I'm not gonna make any major purchases. And, you know, how they're reacting just with everything they're purchasing, from their shoes to their homes. Right now, I think everybody's just like, I don't wanna make any decisions
Yeah, I mean,
until I have
as-
some facts.
It makes you freeze.
Yeah.
Basically, my experience has been just to wait it out, see what's happening. I'll buy into the minimum things that we've got, core basics that I know we're gonna be selling, but I don't know what the future's gonna have, and in 6 months, who's gonna be employed, who's not gonna be employed. You know, I've got a son that's he's a scientist and he's doing research. I don't know if he's gonna have to move back home, because his PhD program might get unfunded. But with regards to all the pricing, not all the tariffs have been set in stone, and there's all these saber rattling of what's happening. And so my safest bet is to freeze, hold off, don't buy into anything, because then I'm more nimble and I can react in season depending on what really is happening, versus trying to figure it out 6 months in advance, and the rules are gonna change. So I like to think that, based on the way the Constitution is written, is that Congress has the
It is
power
Congress,
for,
yeah.
and that this is a unapproved tax on the American consumer, and in order to have a bunch of tax cuts at the top. And it's just, it doesn't make sense to me at all. It's a big charade that this is this windfall for the country. No, it's everybody here is paying for that, and there's a few people benefiting, and those are the people who know what's happening in advance, and you know.
So would you say that in essence, kind of the uncertainty of the tariffs has a sizable impact on inflation as the tariffs, just because of the uncertainty of it?
Absolutely.
Right, and you're talking as a business owner, consumers are saying, wait, I am not gonna buy the clothes or the shoes or stop for an extra cup of coffee, because my healthcare costs are gonna go up. In fact, Washington State just announced that healthcare premiums will rise as much as an average of 21%. So as a consumer or as a business owner that provides healthcare, you go, wait, I am not gonna buy those. So that impacts everyone and is having a real downward impact. And I echo what you said. All of this was done so that a few wealthy people at the top could make more, and who is really being impacted is just the general average business owner and family, and it is really going to impact our economy. That's why I think Congress needs to act.
Norman, with the reflector,
I would open this question to anyone who would like to answer this. Do you believe the connection between tariffs and rising consumer prices is misrepresented by the current administration? Or
Well, I would say absolutely. Trump keeps saying that tariff is not a tax, but you just heard every one of these business owners tell you that it is a tax. They have to pay extra to buy their products. So it's a tax on them that is then a tax on their customers.
So I've had manufacturers that we were sitting down with who had containers of merchandise that were made in China, and they're trying to unload it in the U.S. But because the tariffs were what they were, he couldn't afford the bill. So he was looking to his partners in Canada, partners in Australia. Fortunately he had some other international sellers of the footwear because he couldn't afford to land it in the U.S. Just period.
Lost 2 suppliers locally this last year due to the same thing.
We met with a manufacturer this last week who made $1 million, which was for him on any other given day would be fantastic. 830,000 of that, 830,000 of it got taxed. That's incredible.
That is
That's
incredible.
incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah, misrepresenting or being uninformed of the true nature of what a business pays in taxes at every level, whether it's state, local, federal, I think would boggle the minds of consumers here.
Oh,
if they actually saw
for sure.
it.
They say, you sell how much a year? I don't know,
Yeah.
really.
No,
Right.
Exactly.
Time for one more question?
Senator, just
Yeah.
back to the opposition. Do you think there's enough Republicans that are hearing the same thing as they go back to their districts?
I can tell you there are a number of Republicans in the Senate who are getting extremely nervous about the price increases. They are hearing from their small business as well. Many of them are hearing from their farmers who, because of the impacts of increased costs on all of the things they need, they're raising their prices. Those prices are then passed on to consumers at the grocery store and their people who purchase their food, and they know that this is not sustainable. I think they are secretly hoping that the Supreme Court will rule in the right way for them on this, so they don't have to go against the president. But if the Supreme Court doesn't, we have to act.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
And we will do a group photo right over there.
And thank you, of course, thank you so much. That was really helpful.
Thank you so much. Whatever it's worth.
It
Anyway.
is
Yeah, right?
always worth